What's that? Duncan, the Highlander here. I've been outside playing a little bit, so I got a little sweat going. Wanted to do a couple of side kick frames, but that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the fight card that's happening tonight. So I'll start with basically the only fights that are important, to me at least, and I'll give a little breakdown as to why I think they're significant, my little stuff on them, and maybe if not who I think is going to win, at least who I want to win, and reasons why both people could win. We'll start right at bantamweight, the first prelim card. Iriel Contra versus Brian Keller. Now, Iriel Contra just came off of that beautiful spinning elbow to like triangle armbar sequence that he took Brad Pickett out with. So I'm definitely super excited to see where he's going to come next. Johnny Eduardo. Johnny Eduardo, if I remember correctly, he is I thought he was Jose Aldo's coach, but I might be wrong. Yeah, I don't know much about Eddie Eduardo, to be honest. But I know I've seen him. I know if that name sounds really familiar, so I thought he was Jose Aldo's coach, but that's not true. But he did fight Eddie Wineland, and I think they must have this person that I'm confusing him with has another fighter in unison. But I'm really excited for Eric Spicely's fight against Antonio Carlos Jr. Now, it's bullshit. Wikipedia doesn't even have Eric Spicely a Wikipedia page. He's got to get some. We got to give that guy some love. Eric Spicely, he's like a New England type dude. He's from Rhode Island. He came back with a beautiful jiu-jitsu domination over his last opponent, and I'm definitely a big fan. I hope that's somebody that I'd like to reach out to, and hopefully he'll reply, and I'd like to see him on my YouTube page soon. So hopefully I'll be able to get a little interview with him going. Eric Spicely, definitely a big fan. Then right above that, we've got Rafael Assunção welcoming Marlon Moraes into the UFC. Now, Marlon Moraes, if you haven't heard that name before, he was the former champion of WSFO, which is the World Series of Fighting. So he basically, I mean, it's been a long time, I would almost venture to say since Pride or Fedor, that you've really had somebody who's outside of the UFC, that everybody's really, the hardcore people, the people who are obsessed, really want to see him fight in the UFC. That guy is Marlon Moraes. I would love, there's just a lot of hype behind his fight, and they didn't give him anybody easy. They gave him Rafael Assunção. Rafael Assunção has a win over TJ Dillashaw and last lost to TJ Dillashaw at UFC 200. So it's definitely going to be a good fight. Some fire bombs will fly, I guess the kids would say. But Eric Spicely next is fighting Yancy Medeiros. Now, Yancy Medeiros, he's a pretty crazy fighter. He's from Hawaii. Not most people from Hawaii, but the Hawaiians have a reputation for being gritty fighters, for being people who just love to fight. So I'm definitely excited for that. And Eric Silva, he kind of is somebody who's been, he's been accused of he's been accused and he's been popped of doing steroids. And he's one of those people that before USADA came in, he was massive, and since USADA, he's gotten a lot smaller, and he hasn't been winning that many fights. So that's somebody to kind of keep your eye out for. The next middleweight fight is against two people that, to be honest, I don't know, but I haven't been watching that much. But I haven't been able to keep as up to date as I would like to. But the fight that's next, of course, is Vitor Belfort versus Nate Marquardt. That's a pretty interesting fight. Up until maybe a week ago, everybody thought that this was Vitor Belfort's last fight until Dana White came out and said, no, this isn't his last fight. But he's fighting Nate Marquardt. This is kind of a good fight because these guys are both kind of at the same like level in their career. They're both older fighters. They've both been there. They both had their runs for the titles. And It's just a good fight that you want to see. You don't want to see them put BJ Penn against Yair Rodriguez. You'd like to see older fighters fight another older fighter so that it's a good fight and so that it's not so much of a mishmash. You don't want to see your legends get killed. You know what I mean? I mean, at least that's the way if I was in charge of the UFC, I would make a lot more fights like this. I'm not going to go as far into Vitor's direction and make a Legends League, but that's what I would like to see, something along those lines, where fighters are fighting people around the same age, I guess, if there's a reason that they should be fighting somebody around that age. I guess I just don't like seeing, well, I don't like seeing what we saw. Like, I don't like seeing BJ Penn versus a young up-and-coming fighter, and that can happen. That'll happen in any, that's just a matter of time. There'll be time when eventually Yair Rodriguez is fighting somebody young, and it's just, that's not, you would like to see them with people of their own generation. Above that is Claudia Gadelha versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. That's a really interesting fight. I love Karolina Kowalkiewicz. A lot of people are getting really high behind her because she's kind of one of those unassuming individuals. She goes in there, she has a little smile, she's just standing against the cage. You don't really know what's going on. You don't really seem, she doesn't seem like a fighter, but she is. And the most interesting part about this fight is that both these women both had an epic battle with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, or Joanna Champion, which everyone calls her because they're too lazy to say her last name. But I think this is a really interesting fight. Claudia Gadelha has definitely, I mean, she's got the ground credentials. I guess you could say that she's kind of a more, this almost reminds me of like Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko, I feel like, to be honest. Not that Claudia Gadelha fights similar to Amanda Nunes, but Claudia Gadelha is kind of more not as technically sound as Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Her striking is beautiful, and she seems to have good choice of techniques. So, but Claudia Gadelha seems to be a much stronger, grittier fighter. So I guess we'll see what that turns out to be. And then, of course, the headline, Jose Aldo and Max Holloway. And I think this is kind of interesting because I'm one of those people that, I'm not going to lie, I was the last guy, okay? I was the last person to get all on the Conor McGregor dick. But you got to do what you got to do. And these last couple, I don't know, these last couple cards, you really kind of puts into perspective, like, now, it wasn't, of course, the headliner, but the last, maybe card before last, there was Dustin Poirier versus Eddie Alvarez. Both of these people had a pretty good battle against each other. Both of them were smoked by Conor McGregor, which is kind of an interesting, you know, it kind of gets you thinking here, like, holy shit, you know? Like, it's really easy for me to forget the 13 seconds, even though everybody else it's not. But for me, it's easy to forget the 13 seconds and still consider Jose Aldo the champion of this division. But when he's fighting Max Holloway, it's interesting for me because you can't help but think about Conor McGregor, who already sniped both those guys. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, the fight with Max Holloway was a prolonged battle, but even with that, he did it with a hurt knee, and he was pushing him back. And obviously, the battle against Jose Aldo was I mean, you wouldn't say fluke, but you could assume that probably wouldn't happen 10 times out of 10, right? So, that's definitely something for him, but it was just an interesting thing that even in his absence, you can't help but see Conor McGregor everywhere. You can't help but feel his presence, his impact over the sport, which is kind of interesting. I guess technique-wise, I'm really interested in this fight. Max Holloway has progressed a lot, and obviously something that Robin Black says, which is true, is that you can only tell about where the fighter was. You don't know what sort of things he's going to have now. Jose Aldo, people act like he's really old, but he's only around 30. He's not that old. So he can still make a lot of progressions too, and he's been getting a lot thicker since the Conor McGregor fight. Like, he's added mass, added more weight. Max Holloway is a lot taller than Jose Aldo, so that could be a factor. But another thing that Max does, Max uses a lot of switch stances. He comes in, switching stance, and then maybe at the end of a switch stance, he'll do a like a spin kick. He uses his feet. He started using those stomp kicks after that fight with Conor McGregor. So I'm curious to see how Jose Aldo is going to deal with that, because this is really his first fight against a newer age opponent, against somebody who's not going to be as flat-footed as most people that he fought against. So I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to make the distance, and if Max Holloway is going to use. Max Holloway doesn't use his like everyone's talking about switching stance, and typically people think about it as a way to avoid damage. Max Holloway doesn't use switching stance to avoid damage. He uses switching stance so that he can come in and have power shots every time he's coming through. So I'm curious how that's going to line up with Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo has, obviously he's most known for his leg kicks, but he has a lot more than that. He has great head movement. He's got great, in his last fight against Frank Yeager, he showed beautiful angles, being able to feel the energy of when he was coming in and cut off an angle to get off the side. It looks easy, but it's very hard to do, and you don't see that very often in MMA. You see it very often in boxing. Two people are close, they're only 6 inches apart, someone slips, the other person takes a pivot, now they're on the other side of him, but you don't see that happening too often in the chaos of MMA, let alone against Frank Yeager, who's somebody else who has beautiful footwork. So that was like a leap in his footwork that we hadn't really seen from him, because he wasn't really doing that much from before that. So I'm curious to see what he shows. He's been sparring with a lot of high-level kickboxers as well. I can't remember the names, but a lot of high-level kickboxers. So I'm curious as to what this fight shows. I think, obviously, Jose Aldo's a lot smaller in size than Max Holloway, so he's going to have to try to pressure him. He's going to have to try to use his leg kicks, to slow him down, obviously. I mean, those are just the things. That's what I'm saying that he has to do. I'm sure there's thousands of other things that he can do. So when I say have to, I mean that's just one idea. Max Holloway, of course, has his reach. He's going to be able to use power shots coming in, and hopefully that will cause some sort of confusion. You're coming in, boom, boom, switching stance, coming out at a different angle, coming in, switching stance, coming out at a different angle. So those sort of things can provide difficulty. So yeah, I'm going to post this up right now. Hope this gets out there soon, and hope you guys enjoyed. Be bold, my friends. Shirtless, still here. I'm going to post a little video of me playing around outside, kicking some bottles, and that's kind of a couple weeks old, and then a video of me that I just posted literally right now. I mean, that I just did right now. I was outside punching and kicking in the air, and then I just came back in here. So, hey guys, if you guys are liking these things, please share, because that's what's going to help it so that I can start getting cool people on here, and more importantly, so that I can take time out of my work and out of my life so that I can make better videos, and so that I can spend time editing, adding music, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, please do that. That helps a lot. And if you like these videos, that helps. If you share, that helps, because that's how we get more people in. And of course, please, if you guys know anybody, I know a lot of you guys are young, so if you don't have the money to donate, please ask your parents. If they don't have the money to donate, please see if you know anybody who has a business. Ask those businesses if there's anybody who wants to get at me for sponsors, for fights, or for my videos. I'm looking for those things. Obviously, it's got to be things that I'm interested in, meaning like, or products that I can understand and that I can put out to people, products that you guys are going to be interested in, products that I'm interested in, and products that I can really get behind and know that are good. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for sponsors. I'm looking for help. I'm looking for an opportunity, because unlike all the other YouTubers out there, sons, I'm working a 40-hour-a-week job and training and trying to grind to make these YouTube videos, and I am a father. Not trying to bitch. I love my life. It's okay. This is what I'm trying to do, and this is how you do. This is what you got to do to get out of under the foot of the 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks that this is all you have to do. You have to go into work. You got to do that shit, make that money, come back out. But it's not true. You can find a way to do it, and I'm trying to find my way too. But to do that, I need people to show their support, just like everybody else. All sorts of artists, you know what I mean? That's what Patreon means. Patreon, the reason why that website was created and the reason why they use that word is because a patron of the arts, a patron of the arts was somebody throughout history who, in the Renaissance days, would get money. They would offer money to somebody because they liked them making sculptures and they want them to make sculptures. Well, if you guys like me making videos, you guys like getting techniques, and you want them to get better so that they can be like, like fight tips, like any of the FaZe videos, like any of the UFC videos, and so that I can get the things in my head out there really the way that I want them to be. I need some of your help, guys. Yeah, it's real. But hope you guys like this, and obviously I'll try to make more. Peace. Oh, be bold, son.